Well, hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Adam Blue, and this video is actually an introduction into lost civilizations. What do I mean by that? Well, there's a lot of evidence out there that there was a civilization in the far distant past that we don't have many records of. I mean, I guess we could if we want to look at ancient mythology. It seems that a lot of mythology around the world tends to have very similar stories and events that are being described. That could be floods, disasters, even gods are very similar. And as a current security analyst for my current profession, I tend to look at tons of data points all the time, and I'm having to analyze them, and then I'm having to draw conclusions that really do have to be accurate because the next steps are to be enacted upon. And if I'm giving incorrect information, that could be disastrous. So it's because of my current profession that looking into ancient history has given me a different perspective. It's allowed me to be a little bit more open-minded on one end, but on the other end, very critical. And so while I won't use this time to go through all the different examples, that I have some previous videos of that and I'll be making some more, this video is really to kind of help those that are interested in the subject see where to start potentially. On my Twitter, I'm not as active and I'm mainly replying and retweeting those out there that are doing a lot of really awesome research. But I wanted to show off the researchers that I follow that kind of help paint the picture that these are people that actually go out on the field, they record things, they take their time to go through tons and tons and tons of data. And it helps me as well. They're collecting that data, and then I can go through that and maybe even help. Even with these different researchers, you'll see either their YouTube or their Twitter, I've been able to reach out and speak to them, and everyone is very kind and very nice. See, the problem is a lot of our ancient history is like set in stone, where a lot of academia doesn't want to retract or go back on things that have been found, even though we know throughout our own human history, there are times that we have realized things are not what they are. The universe revolving around the earth, or the sun revolving around the earth. We have come to find out things over time, and we just update that. It's okay. In the past, people would be threatened with death. In fact, on Reddit, I questioned someone about Egypt, and people just started cussing me out, talking down to me. It was crazy. And you want to be able to talk about these things in an open-minded way. So luckily, these people exist for that. One main example for me that I am very sure of is the age of the pyramids. I guess if you were to look it up online, it goes back about 3,500 years. And then I got to a point where I was sure it had to have been 12,000 years. Now, there's enough things I've looked at over the past few years that I'm thinking it has to be older than 30,000. There are people that think it's hundreds of thousands to millions of years old, and I haven't got there yet, but I'm keeping an open mind. But hey, let's get started. First of all, it started with Randall Carlson, a geologist that was actually showing off, I think it was the Joe Rogan podcast, different geography around the world and how it looked like it was affected in a way that would have had to been some sort of cataclysmic event, like an asteroid or a flood. And he shows tons and tons of data. He's gone to these sites and he's recorded. He's even done research. He's even met up with other geologists that can help back up his claims. And that's where it started with me. It just made sense. It's like, wow, if these incredible disasters occurred in the past, that must be reflected in our mythology. And I was the type, I grew up thinking things found in the Bible or whatever were just these false stories just to control people. And while part of that is probably true, I do think there are recordings of events that did actually occur in some way. And then through Randall Carlson, I found out about Graham Hancock. And with Graham Hancock, he's gone even further. He has gone around the world. He's written many books. His current book he has out is called America Before, where he's actually able to show civilizations of humans that have existed before what academia says is when humans first arrived in America. And in fact, just recently, something came out showing that 23,000 years ago, there were footprints made, and they're found in Arizona, human footprints. So that's 2 times recently that we have pushed back the date that humans arrived in America or were in America. And if a lot of what Randall Carlson is true, North America would have been decimated by a cataclysmic event that would have wiped out any traces. Now, this between Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson has to do with a comet impact that happened about 12,000 years ago that caused the Younger Dryas period. And that leads to Antonio Zamora. So with his YouTube, he's actually going through and looking specifically at if an impact did occur, where did it occur, and how did it occur? And he's showing the craters that have been found. He's even showing the Carolina Bays, which all up and down the east coast of the United States are really a bunch of craters that are oval-shaped because of the direction they came down after the ice was hit the glaciers from this comet, and the ice was raining down on the East Coast and causing all the scarring. So you should check out his YouTube to get that detailed information that backs up the claims made by Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson. So once I figured out, okay, so a cataclysmic event did occur, and they seem to be documented in human mythology, is there any evidence of this lost civilization that would have been decimated by it? And one YouTube page I found really early on is from Brian Forster. He lives in Peru, and he actually will travel even to Egypt, Lebanon, and he has documented tons and tons in terms of videos, photos. He has a website, Hidden Inca Tours. And the stuff that he finds in Peru that he showed off is amazing. And that's these megalithic blocks that I've talked about in some previous videos, where these megalithic blocks are found everywhere else, especially Egypt. So he's just detailing specifically one part of the world that has these megalithic structures that aren't really directly answered for in academia. In fact, it's more contradictory to what is, recorded as our current history, because these sites are found all over the world during civilizations and time periods where humans wouldn't have had this shared knowledge. And then moving on from that is Uncharted X. So Ben from Uncharted X, also Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson, he's met with them. He's gone to Egypt. He's gone to Peru. He actually goes to these sites and he films. And a lot of his videos are super long. We can see here the Scablands trip with Randall Carlson, and that was almost 2 hours. There's so many videos here in Egypt, over 2 hours. And this is someone that's taken their time documenting everything, nothing to hide. This is showing everything. And after repeated amount of times, you start seeing these patterns, and you can't help but see them because they are there. Now, another major one is Praveen Mohan. Now, I love this guy. He's so nice, and he is mainly in India and areas around there, which is great because we don't have many people that are documenting things to the degree he has. I would say it's like Uncharted X, but for India. He does a lot of interesting, research into the findings. Again, we're seeing a lot of similar things. It's megalithic architecture that's very similar. But also he dives into things that are in the ancient Indian mythology, but are in a way kind of on display within the megalithic architecture we see. So it's just another area where I'm kind of seeing mythology being represented, so something must have had to have occurred. Now, Bright Insight, this is another one I found. He kind of dives in, and he does it in a way where it's easily presentable, kind of has a charming demeanor to him in the way he talks about these things. A lot of times he's getting data from others, and he is able to just put it on display in a way that makes sense, which is actually what I'm trying to do as well. I don't really have the luxury, unfortunately, kind of got in late in the game to travel around the world and start documenting this stuff, although I want to start doing it. But it's gotten to a point where Jimmy from Bright Insight has been traveling around Peru, Egypt. He has been documenting this information to back up the research he has been doing. Ancient History Criticisms, this is a favorite of mine. So Andrew at Ancient History Criticisms, he also spends a long period of time, like you can see with the video, an hour 30, another hour-long video, where he's going over again and again photographs of different megalithic architecture, except what's really interesting about him is he'll take a specific component. A lot of these are due to hallmarks. They could be nubs, they could be pinch holes, and he just goes an hour plus going through all the documented cases of these. And a lot of times we can't find anything from official academic sources that have explanations for these hallmarks. These are things that have been discovered by independent researchers. And he takes his time to go through these and really makes compelling cases that there was an ancient civilization that has been lost to time, and that they were advanced in some way, maybe in a way that has been lost today. And along with Andrew, I found the Ancient Alternative View. Now, with Ancient Alternative View, this is Philip. He actually does sort of the same thing, works with Andrew, and he goes through these specific findings and hallmarks in megalithic work. And a recent video he did was he took some other ancient or some historical records and was able to sort of make it make sense in a way in modern times. How would this work? With this, a lot of it had to do with lightning. Lightning is something specifically that I've come across that seems to be a common element, but is not specifically understood in terms of the ancients leveraging that for energy. I recently found out that in our past, about 15,000 years ago, lightning was way more frequent, and so it could have been harnessed or had to been a way to be protected from. Anyway, I would check out the Ancient Alternative View also for some more insight. And then Brothers of the Serpent, these guys are great. They have a podcast that they're always diving deep into these things. It could be ancient, lost ancient civilizations. Sometimes it gets into other things like UFOs, because there's strangely a connection between lost ancient civilizations and UFOs, although I try not to dive too much into the UFO aspect, although it is fun to talk about, and the facts are there. And then Curious Being, another one, Tina from Curious Being, she actually takes her time to really research what's being seen. A lot of it, she has done some caves that in China that are just incredible, or even the way the Great Pyramid is structured. She's been able to really dive deep into specifics, like talking about how mining waste storage worked with the pyramids, or also the star alignment claims. And I like this too because it's very open-minded. It almost takes some pseudoscience in a way that people really believe to be true, and she criticizes that and kind of looks deeper into that to see if that's the case. And I really like that. That's something I like about looking into this ancient history, is because just because we're going down one path to think one thing is correct doesn't mean that's exactly what it is. And we should be able to evolve what our findings are. And a recent one I found is Mysteries Channeled. This YouTuber actually takes ancient historical accounts, and she actually does a great job. It has to do with the way she's presenting it and editing it. Quickly can go through ancient mythology, link it up with other ancient mythologies and stories, really painting that picture that there was some sort of relationship for a worldwide civilization deep in the past. And really, that's it. That's just kind of a snippet of the people I follow on a regular basis in order for me to do my research, and some research I do on my own. In fact, sometimes I use DuckDuckGo as my search engine because I can find better results than Google. I don't know why. I don't know if there's a specific reason for that. Be sure to follow on Twitter if you want to kind of get more insight into it. Most of these people that you see that have YouTubes also have Twitter accounts and even Instagram to follow to get into it. But if anyone has any questions about ancient lost civilizations or anything like that, yeah, feel free to send me a message. I plan to dive in a little more deeper to that. So thanks for watching.